This weekend, I accompanied my wife and her friend Daria to the Pioneer Village tasting experience at Spring Mill State Park. We had perfect weather for this kickoff fundraiser for a Spring Mill project that will restore an operating still inside the village distillery. Craft distillers from the area were scattered throughout the village offering tastings of their distilled spirits.
This is our rye.
He thinks my family is the first producer of estate bottle and bond spirits ever. And what bottle and bond means is it has to be milled, mashed, fermented, distilled, barreled, and aged all by the same master distiller on the same bond apprentice in the same season. So what all that means is you can't fake it.
Whiskey was an important part of the Spring Mill Pioneer Village economy in the early 1800s. Excess corn from the iconic Grist Mill was distilled and turned into whiskey that was sent from the village to places all around the country.
Brandy over here on the dulcimer and Marty Mundy on the fiddle, and I'm Becky Sprinkle, and we're called Creekside. You can find us either up in the inn playing every Thursday or down here along the creek.
So this is our David Nicholson Reserve. It's a 7-year-old rye mash bill bourbon, 100 proof. Then we have Davis County Cabernet finish. With Davis County, we take both our mash bills, our rye and our wheat, combine them together, finish it in the Cabernet barrel. Same thing here, we finish in a French oak barrel for 6 months. Then we have our Yellowstone Bourbon, which is a rye mash bill bourbon. It's a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old married together. Been sold ever since the National Park opened, and proceeds from every bottle of Yellowstone goes to the National Park Conservancy. So if you want to save the parks, drink more Yellowstone.
So you're doing something good by drinking.
That's right. George Remus, named after George Remus, the king of the bootleggers. He used to basically pull stuff out of his own barrel warehouse during Prohibition for medicinal purposes, and then rob his own trucks and sell it, and then do the process over again. Tanner's Creek is a blended whiskey. It's only sold in the state of Indiana, which from Remus on down are made at MGP, the Ross and Squibb Distillery. So then we have our Rossville Rye, 3 different rye mash builds, 94 proof. Then we have our barrel proof rye, aged 7 years. And then we have our minor case sherry cast finish rye, named after minor case bean.
Okay. And your name, sir?
Ryan Snyder.
Ryan Snyder. Well,
Yep.
Ryan, you did a great job.
Thank you for coming. Well, I appreciate it.
We've been following Old Hamer whiskey for a long time.
Fantastic.
Well, I'd like to try it.
You got it.
We know that corn would have been the dominant grain, so that's why the rye and the bourbons, the expressions are very corn forward, especially with the bourbon, the 99% corn, 1% malted barley.
This was very corn forward, and even on the back of the
Sure.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big high rye fan myself.
I do.
This is Alan Bishop. He's the resident historian for any distillery, or any brandy in southern Indiana. This is the man to go to ask questions. What's your blog called?
So it's alchemistcabinet.wordpress.com. We also run a podcast, which is called Distillers Talk, for those that are interested in modern distilling and historic distilling both. And then we work on all kinds of historic documentaries and stuff like that. So keep your eyes out for all that.
From reading your information, I've learned that southern Indiana produced more apple brandy than any place else in the United States.
Well, even more than northern France, even more than Normandy, and considered of a higher quality. So we made a very specific style of apple brandy. Instead of pressing our apples and getting the juice, what we did is we made a mash brandy, which is more of a Eastern European sort of thing. It's more representative of what the entirety of the apple tastes like.
And you've got your, 2-year-old apple brandy
Yeah,
there?
2-year-old Old Clifty apple brandy. This was originally matured in once used wine barrels that have been recharred, but made in the Hoosier style tradition with a picture of the Old Clifty Mill and distillery on it.
And everything tastes good in southern Indiana, doesn't it?
That's right, absolutely. Hoosier occupied northern Kentucky.
That's right. Thanks, Alan.
Thank you.